माननीय सदस्य, स्पीकर महोदया पधार रही है।
Members to take oath and affirmation. Secretary General, please proceed.
Dear members, now we will proceed for the oath-taking ceremony of newly elected members of Sunrise Youth Parliament. Ms. Bhavika, who stand elected for Sunrise Youth Parliament, is requested to proceed for oath and affirmation. Madam, do you want to take oath or affirmation?
Ma'am, I would like to take oath in English language.
Here it is.
I, Bhavika, elected as a member of Lower House Sunrise Youth Parliament, do swear in the name of God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of India as the law established, and I will uphold sovereignty and integrity of the Constitution, and I will faithfully discharge the duty which I am about to enter.
Ms. Nikita, who stand elected for Sunrise Youth Parliament, is requested to proceed for oath and affirmation. Madam, do you want to take oath or affirmation, and in which language?
मैडम, मैं संस्कृत में अफर्मेशन लेना चाहती हूँ.
Here it is.
अहम निकिता सनराइज युवा संसदस्य निम्न सदनस्य सदस्यत्वे निवार्षितः सन ईश्वरस्य नाम्ना सप्तं करोमि यत् अहं भारतस्य संविधानस्य प्रति यथार्थं विश्वासं निष्ठां च वहिष्यामि यथा स्थापिते नियमेन यत् अहं भारतस्य सार्वभौमत्वम् अखण्डतां च धारयिष्यामि यस्मिन् कर्तव्ये अहं प्रवेशं कर्तुं प्रवृत्तः अस्मि तत् निश्चयेन निर्वहिष्यामि इति.
Ms. Kanika, who stand elected for Sunrise Youth Parliament, is requested to proceed for the oath and affirmation. Madam, do you want to take oath or affirmation, and in which language?
मैम, मैं हिंदी में अफर्मेशन लेना चाहती हूँ.
Here it is.
मैं कनिका सनराइज युवा संसद की सदस्य निर्वाचित हुई हूँ. मैं सत्यनिष्ठा से प्रतिज्ञा करती हूँ कि मैं विधि द्वारा स्थापित भारत के संविधान के प्रति सच्ची श्रद्धा और निष्ठा बनाए रखूँगी. मैं भारत की प्रभुता और अखंडता अक्षुण्ण रखूँगी तथा जिस पद को ग्रहण करने वाली हूँ उसके कर्तव्य का श्रद्धापूर्वक निर्वहन करूँगी.
Honorable members, as we met today, I am very sad to inform the House about the demise of our former colleague and honorable member of Indian Parliament, Sri S.D. Sharma. Sri S.D. Sharma was an agriculturalist by profession and an active social worker. He worked in rural areas, devoting his time and energy for the welfare of agricultural laborers, backward classes and the downtrodden. He was the president of Mazdoor Union, Uttar Pradesh. An able parliament and on effective order, he took keen interest in the proceedings of the House. He passed away on 26 July 2024.
Sir, I rise to pay my tribute to Sri S.D. Sharma, whose death is deeply mourned by all. He was from a family of freedom fighter. He started his political career as a student leader and elected twice as a member of UP Assembly and twice as a member of UP Parliament in Lok Sabha. He has a depth knowledge in problems of farm laborers and always raised their problems and issues in UP Parliament. I would like to extend my deep condolences to his family. Dear members and Madam Speaker, I have pleasure to introducing to you and through you to the House my colleague, the new Minister, Sri Tarun, Minister of State for Defence. Ms. Jayashree, Minister of Rural Development and Panchayati Raj.
Now the question hour. Question number 101, Honorable Member Ms. Bharti.
Thank you, Speaker Madam, for giving me the chance. My question is, will the Minister of Health and Family Welfare be pleased to state the salient features of Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana so that the beneficiaries come to know about the scheme through the Parliament?
The Minister of Health and Family Welfare, Ms. Khushi.
Speaker Madam, I thank the Honorable Member for raising this question about Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana. Madam, it is a flagship initiative by the Government of India aimed at addressing the critical gaps in healthcare infrastructure, particularly in underserved and underdeveloped regions of the country. The salient features of the scheme are establishment of AIIMS-like institutions. Second, upgrade of existing medical colleges. Third, strengthening of tertiary healthcare systems. Fourth, controlling the building and training. Fifth, healthcare in remote areas. Sixth, public health and access in medical services. In summary, it is prudent to mention that Pradhan Mantri Swasthya Suraksha Yojana is an important initiative by the Government of India at health infrastructure, with an special focus on equitable distribution of the medical services across India, including rural and underserved areas.
Question number 102, Honorable Member Shri Shaurya.
Speaker ma'am, I am grateful to you for giving me the opportunity to ask question. My question is, will the Minister of Power can be state whether the government has taken steps or formulated a scheme for enhancing electricity or overall power generation through nuclear energy, and if so, the House may be apprised of the details.
The Minister of Power, Ms. Pooja.
Speaker Madam, I thank the Honorable Member for raising this important question. The Government of India is committed to increasing the share of nuclear energy mix as parts of its efforts to meet the growing energy demands while focusing on the sustainability development. In this regard, the government has been actively engaged many steps for the development, expansion of nuclear power plants, development of indigenous technologies, public awareness and international collaboration. Thank you.
Question number 103, Honorable Member Shri Bhavesh.
मिस स्पीकर मैं माननीय शिक्षा मंत्री जी से जानना चाहूँगा कि अनुसूचित जाति, अनुसूचित जनजाति, अन्य पिछड़ा वर्ग, अल्पसंख्यक वर्ग एवं गरीबी रेखा से नीचे रहने वाले परिवारों की बालिकाओं की शिक्षा सुधार के लिए सरकार की क्या योजना है?
The Minister of Education, Ms. Jasmine.
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदया, मैं आदरणीय सदस्य का धन्यवाद करती हूं कि उन्होंने इस महत्वपूर्ण सवाल को उठाया। सरकार ने अनुसूचित जाति, अनुसूचित जनजाति, अन्य पिछड़ा वर्ग, अल्पसंख्यक वर्ग और गरीबी रेखा से नीचे रहने वाले परिवारों की बालिकाओं में शिक्षा सुधार के लिए कई योजनाएं और कार्यक्रम शुरू किए। इन योजनाओं का उद्देश्य इन वर्गों की बालिकाओं में शिक्षा सुधार के लिए उन्हें अवसर प्रदान करना और उन्हें सशक्त बनाना है। वो योजनाएं कुछ इस प्रकार है: राजीव गांधी शिक्षा योजना, प्रधानमंत्री शिक्षा योजना, बेटी पढ़ाओ बेटी बचाओ योजना। थैंक यू।
Question number 104, Honorable Member Shri Digvijay.
Speaker Madam, I would ask the question from the Ministry of Science and Technology. And my question is, will the minister to please whether there is significant change in rainfall pattern across the country and other areas experiencing high rainfall and scarcity?
The Minister of State for Ministry of Science and Technology, Ms. Kanishka.
Speaker ma'am, I thank the honorable members for raising these questions. Speaker ma'am, yes, there have been observed significant changes in the rainfall pattern across the country in recent years. These changes can be attributed to various factors including climate change and natural variabilities. First, increased rainfall in some regions. Certain regions, particularly in the northeast and the part of western coast, have been experienced above normal rainfall in recent years. Second, rainfall deficiency in other areas. On other hand, several regions, including the part of northwest and central India, have been experiencing rainfall deficits. These regions have faced prolonged dry spells leading to water scarcity and faced drought-like conditions. Third, impact of climate change. The scientists have identified that changes in global climate conditions, including rising temperature and shifting atmospheric pressure system, have been contributing to unpredictable weather patterns. Fourth, government measures. To address these changes, the government monitoring the changes in weather pattern across the country through some agencies like the Indian Meteorological Department (IMD) and has initiated measures such as improving water storage capacity, enhancing water conservation practices and promoting rainfall forecasting. Additionally, schemes like the National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture are aimed at mitigating the erratic rainfall on agriculture. In conclusion, the significant changes in the rainfall pattern across the country, the government is actively working on both the mitigating the adverse impact of these changes and enhance the resilience of vulnerable regions. Thank you.
Question number 105, Honorable Member Shri Pradyuman.
क्या ग्रामीण विकास मंत्री ये बताने की कृपा करेंगे कि वर्ष 2019-20 से वर्ष 2023-24 के दौरान राजस्थान में प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना के तहत कितने घरों का निर्माण किया गया और कितने घरों का आवंटन किया जा चुका है?
सम्मानीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, इस महत्वपूर्ण सवाल को उठाने के लिए मैं आदरणीय सदस्य का धन्यवाद करता हूँ। प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना, इस योजना के तहत राजस्थान राज्य में वर्ष 2019-20 से वर्ष 2023-24 तक के दौरान कुल निर्मित घरों की संख्या 10,25,046 है। इनमें से लगभग सभी घरों का आवंटन लाभार्थियों को किया गया है। मैं बताना चाहूंगा कि प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना का मुख्य उद्देश्य गरीब और वंचित वर्ग के परिवारों के रहने के लिए सस्ती और सुरक्षित आवास उपलब्ध कराना है। इस योजना के तहत ग्रामीण क्षेत्रों में घरों का निर्माण व आवंटन किया जा रहा है ताकि ग्रामीण लोगों को अच्छा जीवन स्तर मिल सके। धन्यवाद।
Question number 106, Honorable Member Ms. Samira.
Speaker Madam, I am grateful to you for giving me the chance to ask question. Speaker Madam, I want to ask from the Honorable Member for Finance that what is the mechanism and procedure for sharing the GST revenue between the central government and the state government?
The Finance Minister, Ms. Hansika.
Speaker ma'am, firstly I thank the honorable member for asking such important question. The Goods and Service Tax (GST) is a unified tax system implemented in India to replace the various indirect taxes. The mechanism for sharing the GST revenue between the state government and the central government is clearly defined under the provisions of the Constitution 101st Amendment Act 2016. The procedure and mechanism for sharing the GST revenue between the state government and the central government is as follows. First, GST Council. The GST Council plays a very critical role in deciding the overall tax structure and the distribution of tax revenue between the state government and the central government. The second, tax revenue split. The GST tax revenue is equally distributed among the central government and the state government based on a fixed ratio, which is central GST and state GST. Third, mechanism for sharing. The central GST and state GST
are collected by the respective authorities from each state. The tax is then distributed among the central and the state by the respective authorities in their respective accounts. In conclusion, I would like to say that the revenue sharing system is designed to be fair and transparent with clear guidelines provided by the GST Council. Thank you.
Question number 107. Honorable Member Miss Dia.
Speaker Madam, my question is very important and it is related to the nutrition of the children across the country. My question is to the Minister of Health and Family Welfare. The Minister should apprise the people of the country through this House regarding the measures taken by the government to improve status of child nutrition in the country.
The Minister of Health and Family Welfare Miss Khushi.
Honorable Speaker and esteemed member of the House, I am grateful for the opportunity to address the question concerning the child nutrition in our country. Child nutrition is critical not only for the development of our future generation but also for the development of overall socio-economic development of nation. The government under the leadership of the Prime Minister has taken several steps to address the challenges faced in improving the nutritional status of child in our country. I would like to outline the key points to this issue. First, Integrated Department Service, Poshan Abhiyan. Second, Public Distribution Service and Midday Meal Scheme. Third, Growth Monitoring and Supplementary Nutrition Program. Fourth, collaboration with the states and non-governmental organizations. Fifth, promoting breastfeeding and maternal nutrition. Thank you.
Question number 108. Honorable Member Miss Bhavna.
Speaker Ma'am, I would like to ask the Minister of Home Affairs. She has to explain what is intention of the government on the One Nation, One Election bill and how the country is going to be benefited from it.
The Minister of Home Affairs Miss Pratibha.
Honorable Speaker and esteemed members of this House, I thank the Honorable Member for raising this important question regarding the One Nation, One Election initiative, which is a significant proposal aimed at streamlining the electoral process in India. The intention of the government behind introducing the One Nation, One Election initiative is to bring about electoral reforms that will ensure more efficiency, reduction in the cost of frequent elections, and better governance stability. The core rationale behind this idea is to address several critical challenges and to bring about more synchronized and effective electoral process in India. This proposal seeks to hold the general election, Lok Sabha and the state legislative assembly elections simultaneously across all states at regular intervals. Now, let me highlight the key benefits that this initiative will bring to our country. Reduction in the cost of electoral expenditure, better governance stability, enhanced focus on governance, reduction in the model code of conduct disruption, effective use of resources and consolidation of electoral reforms. Now the question here is, how will the country benefit? The country will benefit from the One Nation, One Election initiative by experiencing long-term advantages such as reduction in the cost of electoral expenditure and an overall improvement in the administrative and political stability of the country. By streamlining elections, we will be able to focus on nation building and the well-being of our citizens without any frequent disruption caused by frequent elections. Honorable Speaker, this proposal has been discussed and debated over several years, and the government still remains committed at introducing this scheme in such a way that is in the best of the country with all the constitutional safeguards at place. Thank you.
Question number 109. Honorable Member Miss Rakshita.
मैम, सवाल उठाने का मौका देने के लिए धन्यवाद। मेरा सवाल कृषि मंत्री से है, क्योंकि साल 2020 और 21 में कई मुद्दों को लेकर किसानों का साल भर तक आंदोलन चला था और अब आंदोलन फिर से शुरू हो गया है। ऐसा लगता है कि सरकार देश में किसानों के मुद्दों को लेकर समाधान नहीं कर पा रही है। मंत्री से स्थिति और किसानों की मांगों को पूरा करने के लिए उठाए जा रहे कदमों के बारे में बताने का अनुरोध है।
The Minister of Agriculture, Mr. युवराज।
मान्यवर अध्यक्ष महोदय और इस सदन के सम्मानित सदस्यगण, मैं सवाल उठाने के लिए सम्मानित सदस्य का धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ। किसान हमारे देश की रीढ़ है और उनका कल्याण सरकार की सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकताओं में से एक है। उनके कल्याण के लिए सरकार हमेशा तत्पर है। मैं ये स्पष्ट करना चाहूँगा कि वर्ष 2020 और 21 में किसानों द्वारा उठाए गए सवाल और आंदोलन पर सरकार ने गंभीरता से विचार किया और उन पर कई ठोस कदम भी उठाए। मैं आज इस सदन के माध्यम से उन किए गए प्रयासों के बारे में जानकारी देना चाहता हूँ। एमएसपी की गारंटी। एमएसपी को सुनिश्चित करने के लिए सरकार ने कई योजनाओं को भी लागू किया। एमएसपी को लेकर किसानों के विश्वास को और मजबूत करने के लिए सरकार ने यह सुनिश्चित किया कि एमएसपी के तहत पूरी खरीदारी पारदर्शी और सुलभ हो। इससे सभी किसानों को एमएसपी का पूर्ण लाभ मिल सके। दूसरा, किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड योजना। किसान क्रेडिट कार्ड योजना के माध्यम से किसानों को सस्ते ब्याज दरों पर कर्ज दिया जाता है ताकि उन्हें कृषि गतिविधियों में मदद मिल सके। आखिरकार हम सभी जानते हैं कि किसान हमारे देश के लिए कितने महत्वपूर्ण हैं और हम उनके संघर्ष को समझते हैं। इसीलिए सरकार उनके कल्याण के लिए हमेशा तत्पर है। धन्यवाद।
Question number 110, Honorable Member Ms. Rakshita.
Speaker Madam, the recently announced One Nation, One Education ID in the form of APAR, Automated Permanent Academic Account Registry, is a significant step towards streamlining the education system in India. The initiative aims to create a unique digital identity for students which will store their academic record throughout the various stages and institutions of learning and education. Thank you.
The Minister of Education, Ms. Jasmine.
Honorable Speaker, esteemed members of this House, I would proudly like to mention the benefits of APAR. These includes unified academic records. Second, portability across institutions. Third, data-driven policy making. Addressing parental concerns. The parents have expressed their concerns about misuse of data and privacy. The government has taken following measures for these issues. Robust data framework protection. Anonymization of data. Government's intention. The government intention behind APAR is to create a unified and inclusive educational framework in line with National Education Policy NEP 2020. Thank you.
Well, the proceedings of House are now over.